we're going to talk a little bit about some of the history of the DAS program and then some of the changes. And then we're going to kind of have a just general discussion, but, guys, feel free to ask questions. And Raz, we're really excited to get your take on this and all that. So let's get into some of the history. I kind of started when I was doing some research on this in 2013. And 2013 was when Disney overhauled their previous system because they believed that there was some pretty serious abuse going on. The system had previously been called the Guest Assistance Card. I don't know if you guys remember hearing about that, but the Guest Assistance Card, it was a card that allowed basically front of the line access. And so these guest assistance cards had been being abused by tour companies and some other organizations. And so Disney discontinued the guest assistance cards and implemented instead the Disability Access Service Program, or DAS. At the time, in 2013, there were families of children that had autism that sued Disney for discontinuing guest assistance card because they believed it was a violation of ADA. But the court found in favor of Disney. So Disney basically won that lawsuit. The court said that they did not have to be providing a guest assistance card legally to these families. During that lawsuit, something interesting to note, and I think that that's going to be relevant to what we talk about here, in the 2013 system with the guest assistance card, Disney reported that about 30% of a popular ride's capacity was being dedicated to about 3% of guests that had a guest assistance card. So 3% of guests that qualified for this assistance card, Disney was devoting about 30% of their capacity of the ride to these park goers. And Disney estimated that that doubled the typical wait for the regular park guest who did not have a guest assistance card.
So when you say that, Rachel, you mean that one person with the card would bring in like various members of their family or friends?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
And that was part of the lawsuit. It was a finding that Disney presented for their case. During the trial, Disney argued that providing front of the line access for every attraction would lead to much longer lines for the general public. And the judge agreed, added that giving access to the plaintiff's son would also lead to abuse of the system. And if others saw it on social media, they might demand the same access. They continued, requiring the modification based on the history of the former system would lead to fraud and overuse and lengthen the wait time significantly for non-disabled guests and fundamentally alter Disney's business model. Okay. So that was a quote from some of the news around that lawsuit when the 2013 system was overhauled. So all of that was the guest assistance card discontinued. Now we have DAS. People are upset about that, brought a lawsuit, and the court found that DAS did meet ADA requirements. So then in 2021, the system had to change again. And the reason was because the whole system changed. We got Genie Plus.
Yes.
And so because of the start of Genie Plus, they overhauled the DAS system again. And DAS became based in the app. So it became electronic. Prior to that, you used to go and get like return times at the queue. And this time, because of Genie Plus, it now became based in My Disney Experience and in the app. They offered 2 different ways that you could register for the disability access service. And this is important because they're eliminating one of those ways with the new changes. So you used to be able to pre-register 30 days before your trip, or you could register in person when you arrived at guest relations. If you registered ahead of time online, you could get 2 pre-selections per day. So like similar to the old fast passes, you would have preloaded fast passes, lightning lanes, I guess, in your account before you arrived on your trip.
Okay.
And then in addition to that, so you would get the 2 pre-selections, and you also had the ability all day to, in the app, book a return time for a single attraction at a time. So for example, if I went into the parks and I wanted to ride Peter Pan, I would get in through the gate, go into the app and request a return time for Peter Pan. But I couldn't do like another attraction on top of that at the same time. It was just like, basically I'm waiting in line for Peter Pan, but I'm doing it through my app. And then I would get a lightning lane return window.
Okay.
And so as a result of that overhaul and Genie Plus, so this was since 2021, so that's the last, 2+ years, Disney, I've seen like varying percentages, but most articles are saying that the disability access service use increased 300% as a result of Genie Plus starting. So it tripled. I've seen articles that have said as much as 5 times of an increase. So it is up significantly. In December of 2023, Len Testa talked about this on Disney Dish. Touring plans had gone through and counted people in line, like getting into the lightning lanes. And they were estimating that about 3/4 of everyone in the lightning lane was either a DAS user or was a person connected to a DAS user that was using that lightning lane because of DAS.
Oh, wow.
So they're estimating about 75% of people in that lightning lane were actually DAS users and not Genie Plus. And so so that's like an increase of wait times kind of across the board. So what I'm trying to do here is just kind of set up like, this is a situation that Disney is kind of looking at as far as we know, up to this week. And so this is kind of some of the stuff that's motivating, okay, we have to change the system again. We have to look at it again. And so they announced this week that DAS will be overhauled again as of May 20th. And so that's not a very long turnaround time. If you've planned a trip, if you've planned a trip and you thought it was going to be a certain way, it may not be that way. Well, it definitely won't be. As of May 20th, there are going to be big changes. And it's June 18th for Disneyland. So they're going to make the same changes in Disneyland, but it'll be a little bit longer. So a quote from Disney's website, they say DAS is one of the programs offered at Walt Disney World Resort theme parks intended to accommodate only those guests who, due to a developmental disability like autism or similar, are unable to wait in a conventional queue for an extended period of time. So that's sort of their description of what DAS is intended for. The new program highlights, it will still exist. I have seen a lot of clickbait articles that said that Disney has eliminated this program, and they have not. They have just made some changes, but they are significant changes. It will require only pre-registration. So you have to do it online in advance. You will not be able to go in person at the parks and register anymore after May 20th.
Why would they do that?
I'm actually not sure, to be honest. I think part of it has to do with some of the other things that they're saying will change. One of those things is that they're saying that the cast members who you're going to be speaking with on these pre-registration calls are going to be trained by health professionals to give you more specific accommodations. Whereas in the past, maybe you get onto the call and you tell them what your needs are. They really only have a one-size-fits-all approach. Either yes, you get DAS, or no, you don't. And so I think now the hope is that these healthcare professionals that they're going to be partnering with are going to be able to suggest a range of options and accommodations that wouldn't just be lightning lane access and DAS. There are going to be some other options as well. And so they won't be able to train the in-person cast members to do that stuff.
Okay.
And so it has to be the pre-registration because they're going to have these trained cast members in these health accommodations.
I guess I get that, but I don't know. I understand them not wanting the cast member to make the call on this, but I also feel sorry for the family who arrives there and doesn't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the criteria.
So only pre-registration, but they're extending the time. So it was 30 days. Now it's going to be valid for up to 120 days. So that's going to be a little bit longer of a window that you have. But pre-registration has been really challenging. I've had clients that have tried to do it and, they have spent 2 evenings, multiple hours waiting in a line queue online to try to get pre-registered, and they never get through. And so I have one client in particular who's going very shortly, and they go every year. They just don't do the online thing because it's too much of a hassle. And so they just always do it in person, and they won't be able to do that going forward. So I know that is a concern. The other concern is too that the person who requires DAS has to be present on the call. And so if your person who requires DAS is a child and the call takes 6 hours to get through to somebody, that child might be in bed,
Right.
So that's a problem too. So anyway, that's a challenge, and I'm not sure how they're going to address that. I think part of what they're trying to do is give you more time to get that done. So hopefully not everybody will be rushing in all on the same day to try to get it done. But yeah, so not all guests who currently qualify for DAS will qualify for the advanced passes that they're giving now. Those like 2 pre-selections. Not everybody will qualify for those. And even people who might qualify for DAS now may not qualify for DAS as it exists now at all in the future. They're going to have some other accommodations. One thing that they have specifically stated they might use is a return to line pass, where you have to get in line and be present in line. But then if for some reason you have to leave the line, you can then return to the line